Hey, what's going on? Welcome along to episode 89 of the Strategy and Conversions podcast. I'm Jamie Davis, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Mark Tanner.
Hello, everybody.
Now, Mark, this episode we're going to be talking about giving yourself a promotion, right? Because we don't do that in business at probably any point. You know, we were having this discussion, and I said about a social media post I seen. And I've seen this a few times, but it was the other day that I saw this, and I was like, we need to start talking about this topic because you see it in like anyone in their career. They usually move up through stages, and there will be someone, and you know, I think this one was some sort of hotel or something, but I've seen ones before, and it's like McDonald's or something, and it's like someone starts as a trainee, and then they become like an operative, and then they're a line operative, and then a line manager, and then they're, you know, department manager, and, you know, shift manager and area manager, you know, before long or whatever. And it's like they've moved up through all these stages over a span of like 10 years or whatever it is, who knows. But the point is that there's been this natural progression, this natural ascension. And when we're in business, whether we're a sole trader, whether we've got a small business, a micro business, or even, you know, a bit more, maybe we're up at the kind of like director level with, you know, multiple businesses or something like that, like business owner. Well, we don't usually track ourselves, right? We don't go, okay, like I've leveled up at this point, I've got a promotion. You know, we might look at it as go, okay, we've made more money this year than last year, or something like that, and you know, we've got more clients. That's how we kind of track our progress or what we're measuring. But we never look at it and we never look at it and go, oh, I've become a better business owner. You know, the same as like get someone, you get someone who's a manager, and they would leave that employer and go to another employer. They would go in at a managerial level, right? They wouldn't go back in at a trainee level. And like in business, sometimes is that, you know, we might think, oh, we can't quit this business because we're going to start all over again. But you'd never be starting from zero, because you'll be starting from that managerial level and stuff like if you started a different business. So even if you sold a business and started another one, it's like you've got a certain level of business.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when we all start a business, or unless we've done it before, we're all trainees. You know, you can't get we're trainee business owners, and you don't get away from that. But it's interesting, isn't it? Within business, we are trainees in some things, quite a lot, quite for a long time. So if you think about business functions, for example, you go marketing and sales, operational efficiency, or something like that, and then maybe finance and numbers or something. You're going to be at different levels in those different disciplines, depending on what your expertise is at. You know, so it's interesting because you're not going to, as a business owner itself, that's almost like a separate discipline altogether, isn't it? Because, well, yeah, we know so many people who start out business on their own, and they basically have given themselves a job again. They're doing what they love doing, but they are still on their own. They've just given themselves a job where they've given themselves also the responsibility for getting the money in. But it's exactly the same as it was before, and they're trainee business owners. Or I don't like to call them amateur business owners, but I guess you can, because if they're not earning a terrific amount, there's a difference between amateurs and professionals. A professional business owner is earning a decent salary. By definition, the professional. The amateur business owner isn't, and we're all trainee business owners at different points in our career. But as I say, it's not just business owner; it's then the different functions in the business, which is actually really interesting, because I just thought it made me realize that I keep telling people that when they start out in business, that they need to map out their business structure. So just imagine you've got a business doing, I don't know, 500k million a year or whatever, and you've got yourself up there. You're the operational director or whatever, and you've got all these functions below. You've got marketing, you've got sales, you've got your operations, finance, follow-up, customer support, all those kind of things. When you start out, you're a trainee in every one of those. Or they're probably actually no. There's one you're probably going to be good at. This is why you started business, and that could be because you're a carpenter, for example. So you could be the master carpenter, but for all the rest of it, you're a trainee. And so the promotion is where do you start promoting yourself to the certain say, I'm now not just a trainee marketer. I actually can market my business. So I'm now I know junior, or I'm a competent, or what's they call it now, marketing executives.
So,
I'm an
yeah,
executive marketer now.
it is, I mean, that's exactly. I mean, sometimes these titles get chucked around and everything, but I mean, it is funny where I think with that kind of promotion side, I think in business, like sometimes we get caught up in that cycle, and even if we're successful in business, and maybe there's people who they've got that kind of freedom lifestyle, that kind of that lifestyle business where they're picking and choosing what they work or anything like that. Whether it's someone then who maybe they've got 20 employees and they're growing or whatever it is that they don't necessarily kind of look back on that and go, look how far I've come and stuff like that, and give themselves a pat on the back. When actually, if we look at stuff and we give ourselves regular promotions and moving through, the same as we kind of look at stuff going, okay, look, I was an operative, and then I became, an assistant manager or a deputy manager kind of thing, and then a manager, like meaning like, maybe we're talking like the last episode, like an outsourcer or something like that. Like, well, when you come in, when you bring someone in as an outsourcer, kind of like an assistant manager kind of thing then.
Yeah.
And then as you bring in staff and stuff like that, but we never kind of sit back and go, I've reached that level, fair play to me, or like, I'm just going to give myself a pat on the back for that. Or even just where you get a bit more motivated then, because you kind of see those steps. I think I guess that's the bigger point that I'm getting at a lot, is that within a job, we kind of see it, okay, like if I work here for another 2 years, I'm going to get promotion, and then I'll be at this level and I'll earn this kind of money and stuff. But in business, we kind of just tick along.
Yeah, we do. And I know we mentioned this earlier on, isn't it, is that when we do give ourselves a promotion, or if we do we give ourselves a pay rise? Exactly. Because that's the other thing, because in a job, you wouldn't go for promotion unless there was more money in it. You wouldn't do it. So you wouldn't increase your responsibility. You wouldn't go for a different set of skills unless there was more money being paid. Well, in business, sometimes you have to go for that. You don't have any security anyway. I mean, or very little security to start with. And that security comes in time as you build a resilient company. So there's a classic one, isn't it? You when you've got a certain amount of financial resilience in your business, maybe you've sort of built up 3 months worth of costs or something. Yeah, you earn that badge. I'm a resilient business owner. I've moved from a trainee or apprentice business owner. I'm now a resilient business owner. It is interesting, because we always talk about people. They do talk about seasoned business owner. They talk about, this person's a very seasoned business owner, but we have no idea what that means. Does that mean they've been in business 40 years or 10 years or 5 years? And at what level? It doesn't mean anything. And it's an interesting concept to actually have.
It is funny, because you can get someone who's been in business for 40 years. You can get someone who's been in business for 4 years, and the one in 4 years has been more successful than the other one, right? But it's also like that whole kind of promotional side as well, promotion side. Like for me, like what I think we miss a lot also is we never look at like kind of how far we've come where we become more competent, like you said, that kind of professional business owner. And it's like, I kind of look at things now where it's like, I know so much more now than I did when I started, right? But I feel like I know so much more now than what I did 3 years ago. We were talking we were talking about framework. So we created the scope framework, right? And I said, that there was some framework that we used to work on, that I created a few years ago. And I said, it's a bit kind of laughable now because it's missing X, Y, Z. And you're like, but at the time, it was right. And it's just that your skills and how you've elevated in that, and you can spot these gaps and you can add to it and everything like that. And it's like, this happens over time. It's not that it was there before and I just couldn't see it. It's just that as your kind of skills and stuff like that, expand anyway.
Awareness,
you can actually build on top of it, and it's like that kind of awareness. But I think we always neglect that. We never look at, okay, I've improved this, I've increased this. And maybe I'm not saying this is a thing, but we talk about our listeners from the States. We've got more listeners in the States than the UK, and there is always that kind of States and UK divide where the states are always kind of. It seems as if they're always kind of like, okay, like I stand by, who I am, and I'm proud of who I am, and I shout about it and all this kind of stuff. And in the UK, we're quite conservative in the way where we don't talk about it. So maybe it is more of a UK thing. Maybe in the States, they are kind of like, look at me, I don't know. Maybe, someone get in touch and let us know. But that whole thing in the UK is, I think sometimes it's frowned upon to kind of be a bit big and brashy. And we don't necessarily need to be putting it out there. But sometimes we just need to take this, just lay back in the chair a bit and just be like, yeah, do you know what? I got promoted today.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that is. I think that is a really good thing. Maybe we should bring that into business, but it's so difficult. I know it's so difficult that in each individual business they're going to be slightly different. But we know if you run a business, we know a few people now, don't we, who've started a business and now they're employing staff. So they've got all these staff at different positions, but I don't know what they call themselves. They call themselves the business owner or maybe the manager. But does that sum up really how far they've come? I mean, I look at the like you said, that's the scope framework that we do, well, you mainly developed, that we talked about, which evolved, and it is an evolution. And you think about now, and I think this is where journaling comes in for me, which really helps, is that you look back, and if I read back some of the journals of say 2 years ago, and I look back into my journals and read the stuff there, the stuff I was recording and the thoughts I was having, you think, were so different to the thoughts I'm having now, and as will be in another couple of years' time, because we're just constantly evolving. So you've got to give yourself that. And that happens over time. So the whole thing is, that I've been in business 10 years or I've been in business 5 years actually does mean something, because you are growing in awareness. But have you been, this is what we've also said, have you been in business 5 years and repeated the same year over and over again? Or have you actually been growing, so your business is growing? So year 1, year 2 was a growth on year 1, and year 3 was a growth on year 2. Because so many business owners still are staying in that same year, just repeating what they've done before. So it's really interesting to how people can give themselves a recognition that no, and I suppose it comes down to simple measurement. Has my business grown? Yes, it's grown 30% on last year. So you've become, instead of a trainee business owner, you're now a executive business owner or something. But give yourself that kind of stepping stone. All of a sudden you get, like you said, it even gives you that confidence in yourself. If you can actually tell yourself, I've done for 3 years, I've grown on the trot, I'm an accomplished business owner. That just gives you that confidence that, right, I can actually talk to people I can talk to people about business from a point of knowing the problems they're going through. And that's not to say that you've seen it all and done it all, because that you'll have as many, if not more, problems to come as you grow anyway in business. But the point is then that it's almost like having this status, I guess, the status of a business owner who's now really starting to not learning the ropes, but now is actually weaving her own ropes or something. I don't know if that's a good analogy.
No, I mean, definitely. I mean, that part of that, I mean, a few things, but when you were talking, it's just like, I can remember like doing a lot of networking events and then kind of running like an area for networking and stuff like that. And you kind of have new people coming in and you get to know them and stuff like that. And you can see some mistakes that they're making. And you might kind of point out one or two and stuff like that. And then you kind of think, look, for one, do they understand what I'm talking about? Because they haven't made the mistake or something like that. It's still looking like a good opportunity when really it's like it's going to cause them more damage than good, kind of thing. And then sometimes you kind of think, do they need to make these mistakes themselves to learn from it? It's a weird one like that. But then also like you were saying there is like with that whole kind of thing of someone being in business for a while, I guess it's just the same as like with practicing. If you practice on a thing like networking, we'll take that for example there. You might go to a networking event for the first time, you're a bit nervous, you don't get involved and stuff like that.
Yeah.
After you've been for so long, it's like you walk in, you're laughing and joking, you get up and you do your stuff, and and it's like it never even happened. And it's like it's a bit like that within business as well. Is that after so long, it's like you're comfortable with it. Like when maybe you first start, like you said, those different hats. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing with accounts, or I've managed to bluff my way through that sales call, or I think I've taken that payment or made that payment. I don't know what's going on, kind of thing. But then after so long, it's like that's second nature. It's like, again, looking at that divide between us and the guys in the States and that, a lot of the cars in the States are automatic, right? But over here it's manual. You go through the stick shift kind of thing and stuff like that. But after so long, like you don't even realize you're doing it. Like when you drive, you're changing gear and all this kind of stuff, you wouldn't know. But if you take someone who drives an automatic, who doesn't know how to do that, and you put them in the car, they wouldn't have a clue where to kind of start. But once you've been doing it for a while, you're just like you just flow with it. And I think sometimes that's it within business, is that we don't recognize when we get to that point.
Yeah, and I think that, as you say, and it's the recognizing when we get to that point, but also looking back as the journey we've come on through as I say, through journaling and stuff. But isn't that the case? When we make our strategic plans and people put a value on, and this is, again, we've talked about this before. As you make your plan, this is the value of the business I want. Maybe you even plan, say, I'd like to have 10 staff or something, and this is the structure I want. But it's that whole thing. Where do I want to be? And that's that's a big thing. We say really work out where you want to be. What's the not only the lifestyle, but what skills do you want to have there? Where do you want to be? So and I'm not talking about going on university courses and degrees and that kind of stuff, because sometimes that academic stuff doesn't mean anything in the world of business, because it's sometimes they're a bit devolved from how business works, shall we say. But it's got understanding. For example, you can say I've read business management books I've been reading business management for 5 years. I've put stuff into place. I know where I am. So now I am an equivalent of a master's degree business owner, for example, that kind of thing, you can put it into that kind of perspective. And you can see, if you do journal and you do go back, you can see all the route you've come along, and to get to the stage you can actually sit down and say, no, I'm not joking, I am a master PhD business owner.
So much in that, though, isn't there? Right, and I get it that there is testing to make sure that you're at a level to prove that you're at a level and stuff like that, right? But I take like there's a bunch of books behind me which are all to do with accounting and finance and strategic finance and reporting and stuff like that. And it's like years ago I started doing an accountancy qualification, and I was doing a mortgage advisor qualification, and that I passed that one first, and I went off to work in that field. We're talking like 15 years ago now, whatever it was. But it's like the whole kind of accountancy stuff is that when I got into business and I look at the strategic side, and everything comes back to numbers, right? And the whole kind of profit gap is we want to close the profit gap. And it's looking at that kind of stuff. And it's like all those kind of books that I've been through, I've kind of got that knowledge and stuff like that. Now, I'm not turning around and by any means saying, I've got the same knowledge as a management accountant or financial, strategist or advisor and stuff like that, right? But it's like I've got a very good knowledge of it because I've read those books and stuff like that. I don't count myself as going, oh yeah, I'm at that level or anything like that. But really, there was a point where I leveled up because
you had to.
And we're coming back to that whole kind of thing of me going, look, this framework was right before, but now we've improved it. We've made it even better. We've elevated it because it's different angles now. And it's like that comes from looking at stuff from a different angle, because the knowledge and experience that you get through something different, you level up and you get to do it. And that's that whole thing, like I said, that trainee to line operator to assistant manager, area manager, whatever it is, kind of thing. It's like, yeah, we don't track that. No. we should be doing that. We should be doing it where it's just like, and that's the thing for anyone listening is like, have a think about how far you've come, and like give yourself that promotion today.
Yeah.
And it is that thing. You call yourself an executive business owner, right? It's just whatever you kind of want to chuck on it, but just do it. And that goes the same as like, something like a side hustle or something like that, right? You imagine that, like you've gone from thinking yeah, so I want to get something started on the side and stuff like that, to setting up an online store, right? And it's there, it's available in that. It's like you've gone from what most people are dreaming of, to actually do it. It's like, you may be that kind of trainee or apprentice or whatever it is, but it's like you've started. You're moving along. It's like, give yourself credit.
And I think there's a huge thing that you've just mentioned. It's about implementing. That it's not just about the knowledge, and this is probably the problem. I guess not the problem, but the challenge is with university courses. It's all theory, and it's great. You get a great knowledge, and theory, and you can put that knowledge into practice. But it's not the wisdom that comes with implementing that knowledge, because I just think learning never really is completed until that knowledge is implemented. I think it's somebody, I can't remember who it said, the difference between wisdom and knowledge is that knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing you're not going to put it in your fruit salad.
Oh wow.
You're not going to put tomato in your fruit salad. And it's so cool. True. It's things like that, experiential knowledge. The university degree, even PhD, gets you so far, but it isn't until you put that into practice that really you start to learn. And to be fair to most business owners, they probably know a lot more than a lot of degree students because they've been implementing it, and not only learning it on the job, but finding the failure points, which unfortunately all come our way, and then trying to work around them. And those getting around a failure and getting around a challenge is probably worth 3 degrees of knowledge, because it's the practical. How can I make? I'm in a real situation here. How can I change it around? And the fact they get through it, and I've got through it and come out the other end. That's a massive pat on your back. The fact that you've gone through that whole understanding what doesn't work, but you've become stronger because of it.
That's very interesting, actually. That whole kind of knowledge and action sort of stuff. And it's the same. It's like all the kind of books behind me and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff there which I've probably read and not really looked to put action, and then that's strategically because that you're putting action into like a different area. But you will get a lot of people who, oh yeah, I've read that book, or I did a course on that or something. And it's like you never actually actioned it to do anything. So it's like you probably don't even remember half of the stuff, or times have changed and everything. And it's like, I guess sometimes you have to look at it that way, where you watch TV, right? People watch TV. You could be watching all the James Bond movies, right? It doesn't make you a spy.
No,
it doesn't make you an action hero and stuff like that. And I'm not advocating anyone to go out and try and take down someone. Right? But what I mean is, just by watching that, you watch however many fight scenes and how many different things, you don't know how to do it. But if you actually put it into action and you start doing the whole kind of training, there's a Bruce Lee quote, and I think it's something like what he says: I don't fear the man who can do 1,000 kicks. I fear the man who can practice a kick 1 time a day for 1,000 times a day.
Yes, that's right.
And it's like it is that consistency and stuff like that, doing it, and it's that compound effect that it builds up to certain levels in that. And it's like but I think that's the thing. Like, if someone goes, okay, look, it's taken me, I'm trying to work out the math, right? But it's taken me 3 years, right, to do 1,000 kicks. And someone's like, well, it's taken me 3 minutes to do 1,000 kicks. Like, well, who's more experienced, actually? Like, you've done the same level, and from the outside, you may look at it as you've both done 1,000 kicks, but actually, because you've done it, consistently over the 3 years, it's like you've perfected that kick rather than just getting it done.
Just getting it done,
and that kind of thing in business, like you said, is like you do get people who they stay stuck. It's the same year on year. I'm going to try something different next year, or I'm just moving along, and I made the same money as last year and everything. They never kind of move on. And it's like, if you had a year or two like that, it's the same as staying stuck in a position, right? So just say you are like a junior manager, well, surely your inspiration is to become a manager. So it's like, if your business is kind of ticking along, it's like, surely your ambition there is to make it to the kind of next step. And it's like, that next step doesn't have to be growth. It doesn't have to be, more money necessarily. It could be more control. I was talking to a guy actually recently. He had a business, had a couple of people working for him and stuff like that. Didn't work out in some sort of way. and he's like, "Oh, I've taken a step back down, and now it's just me." And it's like it's not necessarily a step down. It could
No.
be, a step upwards, a step sideways, because actually you're happier now doing
Mm.
what you're doing than what you did when you had, the staff.
Yeah, that's so interesting, isn't it? Because I remember having a conversation with someone a while back on, I think it was on LinkedIn, um, and because I don't make any I don't worry about telling people that I failed quite a few times in business,
Mm.
and went bankrupt a long time ago with a business that just kind of blew apart. And I remember having a conversation. And this guy was saying, "Why is it that everyone has to fail in business for it to, why is it that everyone? It's the people who fail who are thought to be better in business." And I remember having the conversation. I said, "Well, where do you learn most? Do you learn from your successes?" And I think I come with the reply. I said, I bet you don't. I bet you don't think about your successes and everything you've done and what you've learned to create that success. But I bet if you have a failure, you're always on it, learning and learning and thinking about what I need to put right, what went wrong, how did it go wrong, what did I do wrong, and I'd say so. Failure is a great way of learning, probably more of a lesson of learning because you learning what doesn't work as well as if you then become successful of learning what does work. But it's not neither one is right really.
Mm.
You've got to learn. I think you've got to go through failure to have a great learning. But if you go constantly through failures and time again, you're not learning. So it's that whole kind of success thing as well. You've got to gone through a cycle of really hitting the bottom, but then coming out again. And it's when you've hit the bottom and come back out again, and then you're a success. Then you know more. You're wiser than the person who's just had success, and much wiser than the person who's constantly failing.
I think with that, like the way I take it, like you're absolutely right in what you're saying. I think it's like I think that there's extra levels to that because I feel like there are people who fail, and that could be in a way where look, there is a lot of pressure on growth and scaling and growing and that, and you kind of get this upward line, like it's just kind of like straight up, like, and if you're not going straight up, it's like, well, you're failing, sort of thing, right? And that's not the truth. You can have slow growth to you may even drop down a little bit or you may maintain before you kind of move up in that. But when you said like those kind of things like the bottom, like that bottom has taught more lessons than the top ever will. And the way I kind of look at it is that those failures, when you've kind of hit that rock bottom or you've gone through something that's bad, it leaves scars and you remember it. So you're mindful of you're not going to make that same mistake again.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like when you said when you're just at the top and you're high flying and it's like little kind of blips and stuff like that, you're not even noticing. I mean, we did the couple of podcasts ago where we said about the seasons and stuff, and it's like when you have a good, you're in a good time in business, you're not worried about what might go wrong and stuff like that. But when it hits you, you're like, oh no, I need to sort something out right now. Whereas if you actually took the time to step back and go, okay, look, things are going well. I want it to continue to go well.
But I want to continue.
I want to put the stuff in place. It's like we get to do that. But if we don't, and we just kind of blip along, or even if we do something where, like I said, we may not have the knowledge and stuff, and that's okay. I think sometimes like with people, again, I think there's so much pressure on it. But like if you start a business, well, you need to be a millionaire in 6 weeks. Instagram, kind of thing. It's like you can start a business just to pay the bills. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's like whatever it is that you're happy with.
And that is and I know we've gone off the tangent about promotion, but that is so important, isn't it? Is that going back to knowing why you set up a business in the first place. Because the people who set up a business to try to become millionaires don't. It's like you chase the money and it slips away. But if you come, or I won't say they don't categorically, but it doesn't happen as easy as they say it's going to happen because they don't know. But the people who just say, I'm going to start a business because I just need to get the bills done. I just need to pay the bills and I need to get this done. So the motivation is much higher. The motivation to say, I've got to get to this stage and I've got to be able to get to this break-even point where, okay, I'm now I'm breaking even. I'm getting an income from this, which is what I want. Now I can grow. Um, but it's just that comes down to the why you set in business. But there's nothing wrong with just wanting a small business. I mean, it's I've seen a couple of people, and in fact, I knew a guy ages back. This is what yeah, it was a long guy. He wanted to get a job and get to there was an office block. This company was based in an office. He wanted to get this job, and he wanted to have one of the C-suite officers at the top of this building. That was his desire. And I said, what? You just want to? What do you want? You want this job so you can get a decent view, or what's going on? And it's obviously for the prestige and stuff. But he didn't succeed anyway. He did get the job, but he only ever got to certain levels of management because his why was wrong, I suppose. It's this whole chasing a prestige thing. But he wasn't. And going back to I suppose going back to the promotions is that people could see that why he wanted to get there was wrong. He wanted to get there because he wanted to be on top, but that's not a reason. It's like people who want £1 million business. I want £1 million business, but when you ask them why, soon any thoughts of why they want it fall apart. They don't really know.
This guy, it's like I remember him from years ago and he was that case of. Yeah, he's being pushed. He's seeing the success stories. You need to have staff. You need to do this. You need to grow the business and all this kind of stuff. To get to a point where it's just more of a headache than what it's worth.
Yeah,
I never wanted that. I'm just happy earning the money that he's earning the same money now as what he was with staff anyway. So it's like, well, he looks at it as he's taken a step down. Which probably knocks his confidence. Which probably means that he may not go to like networking events, or he may not put himself out there because he may see himself as a bit of a failure and stuff like that. When really, there's no need to it. You might give yourself a promotion. That whole kind of thing of, I've got to the point now where, even though I don't have the staff and everything like that, I've got to a place where I've gone above because I've now gone through that stage of having staff. I know what it's like. That I know I don't want that.
And that's the whole thing, I totally agree, and I know someone in a similar position, but he unfortunately is in a position where he's just given himself he's back to giving himself a massive job now because he took on he had staff, took on a lot more contracts because he had staff. Couldn't get on with the staff, so got rid of them all. But now he's got all these extra contracts, so he's now working basically 24 hours a day, it seems. So you've got to be a bit careful with that. But I do think that I do think that with businesses to become even resilient where they are, they not necessarily need to have staff, but they need to have some kind of backup, some kind of team going on. Because I know from my heart attack a couple of years ago that my business how I managed to keep it alive, I don't know, because I was the business and I was in the hospital for 5 days and then 3 months for recovery afterwards. And so my business just couldn't take it. So I think that, but it is, I know we've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but I think you're right in a sense of promotion because he has done it, he's implemented it, found he didn't get on with it or it didn't work for him in a particular way. So he's learned from it. He's gained wisdom from it, as opposed to someone who just reads it in a book. And because if someone reads his story in a book, they're not going to have the same wisdom than he actually has of going through it, because they'll try it themselves maybe and try doing it a different way. And they may succeed, they may not. But the wisdom comes from actually implementing it and putting it forward. So I think one of the promotions we need to give ourselves as business owners is implementing things. Have we implemented it?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that even I'm just thinking through as we're recording this, and it's mad. I mean, look, the podcast is something, right? I mean,
yeah.
What did we say this was? Episode 89.
89. Yeah.
All right, so we've done 89 episodes, and we've done a few little kind of like videos and stuff like that also, right? But it's like that consistency of keeping it going and stuff. Like how many people, it seemed like everyone had a podcast at some point, right? And they did 5, 7 episodes. It's like it was just a flash in the pan kind of thing. But it's like to have that consistency to keep going. I know we joke about it sometimes, like when we start the podcast, we're like episode whatever it is, and stuff like that. But really, we don't step back and go, we're podcasters.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I'm not saying we're like massive or anything like that. There's obviously people out there who have massive podcasts and stuff like that, and it's like it's fine. We don't need to be at their level or anything. But it's like we're just two guys who decided to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And we're now on episode 89. It's like if we can do it, everyone can do it. And it's like, that's that thing of having that kind of path there of saying, yeah, do you know what? Look, we now can turn around to people that we know. It's like, look, you can do this because we were able to do it.
And our why was different, wasn't it? I remember doing it before we started ours, actually. I bought a course on how to create a £1 million podcast or something. And it was this huge training course about how you could get podcasts and then you get sponsorship and do it, and it went on. And I thought, I'll never do a podcast. And then when we said we were having a chat, let's do a podcast. And our why was different. Our why was just because we wanted to educate people, help people. And that's the difference, is we wanted to do it we wanted to help and just, and give the benefit of our wisdom to people. I'm not saying we're the wisest people on the block. There's plenty of people who've been a longer around than us, but we're wiser than people starting up, maybe, or wiser in certain things than people who are in business now. Anything that people can take from this for us is a bonus.
That is massive, isn't it? Because I mean, you said about that course is I've probably looked at that also in the past, where it's like, okay, I could create a podcast to make some money or something like that. But we were, we worked together on and off and stuff like that for years, and that, we work with each other's clients and stuff, and we guess we just respect each other, and liked how we interacted with each other, that we continue talking. And then in the pandemic and that, and we were talking, and some of the stuff we were like, let's do it. This might help some people, so let's do it. And we didn't know what we were doing when we pressed record. We didn't know how to run a podcast or anything like that, right? We just did it. And I think if you watch the first episode, it's like, I'm talking and you'll say, yeah, and the picture will go to you, and then it flips back and all sorts, and then over the year or so, whatever it is, it's like, we've tried different things. You put little headings at the top, and we tried a different background and stuff like that, and it's like all little things that are irrelevant, really, because it's just like, we just have to keep going and doing the stuff. But it's like, even though I think we did it in a way where it worked for us, that we just went, look, we're not going to do the editing and all this kind of stuff. We're just going to have a chat and everything like that. We're probably still more confident now. We're going to go. I mean, we've never really had a plan, in all honesty, right? But now, whenever we hit record, it doesn't matter if we don't have anything to talk about, because we soon find something to talk about, because it's just genuine, where we're talking about stuff and giving views and that. And it is just our experience, our point of view, our expertise and stuff, where we can say, yeah, do you know what? Sometimes you just have to keep going through the storm, to get to the other side. And it's like those storms are your promotions, it's like you get to come through and go, okay, I overcame that.
Yeah. And that's why everybody has to listen to our podcast all the way through, because you never know when you're going to get a nugget of information, because we don't know either.
Mate, massive. I mean, that thing there, I mean, we talk about it, don't we? That whole kind of mastermind of, I'll say something, you say something, I'll say something again, and then you'll say something, and it'd be like, that's gold.
Yeah,
we actually need to do a whole podcast around that one thing. Or like you'll remember a story from like years ago, and it's like, yeah, okay, look, just do that one thing. I can remember it stuck with me, where it was like, we were just talking about something, and you went on about the dog or something like that, and you were saying about, you got to give the dog some tablets and that, but she won't eat them, so I'll wrap them in some ham or something like that. And it was like, there's so much, like so many stories in that we can talk about. Is that something? Do the thing, but if you sugarcoat it, they'll do it and stuff like that. And then we looked at the offer, and it's just like, look, the features, that the whatever it is the benefits are there, by taking the tablet. But people don't want to take the tablet, so if you wrap it in some sort of container, all of a sudden it looks a lot better. And it's like different ideas that we come off with that. But again, that whole kind of tangent thing, mate. I think we're look to wrap things up, but we're just talking about that kind of promotion. Like, give yourself a promotion today, and it's all about kind of continuous development and stuff like that, right? And if that is something that you want to work on, work with us. You know, we've got Momentum Booster. You can come in. It's a £1 trial. You know, for our friends in the States, that's like $1.20 or something, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Come in for 2 weeks. We got weekly calls. We've got some on-demand training. We've got support center, you know, in the growth zone and stuff like that. So just come in. You know, there'll be a link below to come in and check that out. We'd love to work with you. And yeah, just have a bit of a crack with us with the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but Mark, is there anything you want to add then to wrap things up?
Well, it's interesting. It wasn't about promotion, but I think it goes there. And it was just I wrote down that knowledge plus action equals wisdom. And I think we need to give ourselves wisdom promotions for when we actually put things into play and implement them and see the results.
Do you know what, mate? I said about wrapping up, but let's just carry on. Just a small, like you said, you never know what you're going to get, right? But I was just thinking, then we're talking about promotions, right? If you're there thinking, okay, promotion's like a big thing, I just think of it like a gold star, right? Or like a treat. Like do it this way. Like if you've had a good week or something like that, right? Or you've done something really good. Like, get yourself a takeaway or get yourself some sort of treat.
Yeah,
reward yourself. Like, kind of looking at it, you know, we're looking at that kind of thing of moving up through like a career and stuff like that. And in business, we do it, but also like little milestones. Like, don't forget to celebrate them. You know, like that whole kind of gold star reward. Like, you know, we start getting the gold stars, we start working towards it, and that's why salespeople have targets in place, right? That they get bonuses when they hit the targets, because it's like, you know, I want to keep working towards it.
Yeah.
So like in business, like, you know, give yourself that kind of reward chart. You know, if you didn't hit your rewards, you know, don't get the pizza this weekend. But
exactly. Yeah,
you know, don't get it.
Yeah, that's right. There's a bit of motivation for you.
There's a motivation for me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that.
Brilliant.
Well, we'll leave it there, and we'll get together for the next one. It's always been
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.